We're on the eve of Ta'anit Esther, sitting together, Ish Echad Belev Echad, for probably one of the most important, if not the most important cause possible. Rabbi Kleiman and I don't know each other. We're going to give a disclaimer in advance. I met him for the first time 4 seconds ago. As I was walking up, I shook his hand for the first time. I didn't even know who he was, so I would have went over with him earlier. But Leman Achai has been in my heart for 19 years now. Or 18 years, something in that range. I got married to a Bukharian girl, very rare for a young Syrian boy, in the Queens community. Yeah, it was a good choice, thank God. And I found myself on Main Street on the weekends. And suddenly I started meeting young boys. And everybody had the same story. We met this amazing, and they used to call him the Angel. I don't know if the rabbi knows himself, but that's what they title him on the street, the Angel. Something about the way he looks and the presence he gives over. We met this angel and he saved our soul. And I heard that story over time and time again. And on New Year's weekend, somebody had mentioned to me that there was rumors on the street that this institution's in danger. And I said, tell me what has to be done and I'm in. So they said, what do you mean? What are you willing to do? I said, I didn't offer anything. I said, you ask what you want and I'm in. And then they told me the eve of Ta'anit Esther, we're doing something, Sha'arei Torah, could you show up? I said, I'm in. And here's what I'm in for. I had a zchut in the early 90s to spend time in the home of the great Rosh Yeshiva, Maran Harav Shach, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, Zchuto Yagen Aleinu. I want to share with you things that I didn't see myself, but that others that I know very well witnessed from that home, that maybe you'll take home with you tonight, and preferably leave here before you take home with you tonight. The great Rosh Yeshiva of Lakewood brought in 1999, the new Mashgiach of Matityahu Salomon Shlita, Hashem Shekim Refuah Shlema B'mera. Matityahu Salomon went to a Dirshu convention in Israel on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, I think it was 9 years ago. And when I heard he was flying in special for this thing, I said, if he finds a reason to be there, there must be something going on. I bought myself a last-minute ticket and went as well. And it was worth the entire thing for his speech. His speech was 3 minutes. I'm going to give it over to you right now. He said that once a gentleman told him, he said the name I don't remember, that Rav Shach came over there one day in the yeshiva and told him that he wants to get involved in saving a boy. And the boy's story was that he originally learned in the yeshiva and after a while fell out of the yeshiva as a result of the winds outside. When that boy fell out of the yeshiva, he moved to Tel Aviv. He was living in a loft on the second floor in Tel Aviv. And Rav Shach tells this gentleman, I'm already too old to travel alone. Come with me. I want to go to this boy's loft in Tel Aviv and speak to him and see if I can bring him back to the yeshiva. Now let's put things in perspective. Maran Rav Shach Zitzal, Rabban Shel Kol Yisrael, the rabbi of the whole Am Yisrael, the person who everybody waited for every word he had to say. What's important to him is one boy who's the dropout who ran away to the village, who's living in some loft. And he goes down. At that point, he was 97 years old. The gentleman who's with him flags a cab, as he assumes Rav Shach wants. They get into a cab, and they go driving to this address that they had of where this boy is. Rav Shach told the gentleman that was with him that he should find a local synagogue to wait in and come back in a few hours. Rav Shach walked up one flight of steps to the second floor where this guy's little thing was, knocked on the door, and he sees his old Rosh Yeshiva there. He takes him in and they talk for close to 3 hours. And Rav Shach was not successful to bring him back. 3 hours later, he comes downstairs and he sees his student in the doorway of the building waiting for him. And he tells him, let's go back to Bnei Brak. L'tzari lo itzlachti, unfortunately I wasn't successful. And the student goes out to the street to flag a cab so they can go back to Bnei Brak. And Rav Shach, the Gdol Ado, together with his student, are standing on the street, and Rav Shach pushes down his hand and says, what are you doing? And he says, I'm getting a cab so we can go back to the yeshiva. He says, what cab? We're going to take a bus. And he says, what do you mean take a bus? The greatest rabbi? You're going to go on a bus? And he says, I don't have extra money. And if I did, I would give it to the yeshiva. I wouldn't waste it on a cab. I'm going to take a bus. And then he tells him, listen, my dear friend, it's been many months that the yeshiva hasn't paid me because they didn't have money. I don't have any extra money at home. But on the way there, taking a cab is quicker than taking a bus. There's no stops on the way. So maybe if I would have been successful, I would save this boy's life 30 seconds earlier. For that, it's worth spending money on a cab. But on the way back, I already failed. At that point, there's no need for a cab. We can take a bus. And now imagine the vision of the Gdol Ado together with a student on a bus from Tel Aviv back to Bnei Brak. But imagine the feelings that went through that Torah giant with his 97 years of age at that point. Of maybe 30 seconds earlier, maybe 1 minute earlier, I can save a life. When I tried to sit down on a chair here, there was a nice envelope and there was a pledge card inside. And I saw two interesting options. One was to give a donation right now in full, and the other one was to split it up in 10 months. Maybe we should give Rabbi Kleinman a good night's sleep tonight after 18 years. He deserves it. He earned it. He came from a different community. He came from a different background. He owes us nothing and gave his life for free for years straight. We spent $1,800 and 3 nights out in Manhattan and whatever restaurants that didn't pay me to promote them, so I won't say names. We spent a lot more than that on a business class ticket going to Israel for some random reason that came to mind, or to the grave of our father. As important as that may be, these boys are still alive. They come first. Somebody told me on my way here on the phone, I'm sorry I can't attend because I have an askara tonight. I said, if you want to do something that's going to help your relative, skip the askara and come to Leman Achai. That's so much more important. These boys need their life back, and Rabbi Kleinman is their lifeline. Don't forget that. That's so much more important. But now hear the next thing, Kahal Kadosh. Guys, I'm going to give you a little disclaimer. Whoever was in charge asked me how long I'm speaking for. I told him to tell me a number. He didn't give me. So the rule is going to be when you throw something, then I stop. There's a great man in Israel. I'm sure many of you know his name. I hope you never need his services. His name is Rav Hanania Cholak. He owns a wonderful organization called Ezer Mitzion. This man, amongst the many, many accomplishments he has in life and the tens of thousands of lives he benefited and saved, has also had the merit to spend 11 years of his life taking care of Rav Shach personally on a one-to-one basis almost every day. And now listen to an amazing story. For the last 6 years of the Rosh Yeshiva's life, he didn't go to Panovich to the yeshiva to pray. He used to pray at home, and that was done for safety reasons. He was too old, ill, and fragile. The routine went like this. Hanania came in every morning. He would take the Rosh Yeshiva's tefillin, he would offer it to the Rosh Yeshiva. The Rosh Yeshiva would tell him when he was ready. He would help him put on his talit and tefillin, and they'd pray shacharit. After shacharit, he'd check the important medical facts that he needed to know for the day, make sure everything else was okay, and somebody was there to take over the shift, and he would leave. One morning he comes in. He takes off the talit and tefillin from the shelf, and he comes to Rosh Yeshiva and he says, Rebbe, are we ready? And the Rosh Yeshiva tells him no. And he says, what do you mean no? Is everything okay? And he right away panics, thinking that probably the Rosh Yeshiva is not feeling well. At that point, Maran Rav Shach was 102 years old. And he says, I can't pray yet. I need a favor from you first. And he says, sure, what do you need? And he says, do me a favor. Take the step stool. I don't know how many of you were in Rav Shach's home, but Rav Shach had a bookcase that went all the way up, and Rav Shach was very short. It was hard for him to reach. And he said, go on the stool and go to the top shelf on this column of books and see if you see this and this Sefer HaMasechet Pe'ah. Hananiah is wondering, and he says, okay, I'll do it. And he takes the stool, and he goes up a couple of steps, and he looks, and he doesn't find it, and then he looks again, and he sees it. And he pulls it out, and he brings it down, and he says, yes, Rosh Shiva, here it is. And Rav Shach takes the book, and he kisses it, and he hands it back to Hananiah, and he says, now do me another favor. He takes his keys that he had on the table. Rav Shach used to deal with a lot of kaspei tzedakah over the years, that before charity online and charity campaigns and all these other things that we do today existed, they entrusted Dolei Yisrael with their money, a much more efficient system. So people used to hand him very, very large sums of money in cash to distribute to whatever causes he felt. And for that purpose, he had a safe at home. He hands him the key to his safe. The safe was a manual safe. And he tells him, here's the key. Can you bend down, Hananiah? Anshuldiks, I'm sorry. Please, open up the safe. And he opens it up, and he says, yes, Rabbi, what can I do? And he says, take the Sefer and put it inside the safe. And Hananiah takes the Sefer, and he tries, and the Sefer doesn't fit. It's too big, and the safe is full, there's no room. And he says, Rosh Shiva, it doesn't fit, there's no room inside. He says, if that's the case, take out whatever is inside and make room. And Hananiah describes, he's taking out envelopes that say on them, Mukdash L'Tzedakah, this is charity money. And he's placing it on the floor near the safe. And as he does that, finally at one point there's room, and he sticks the Sefer inside. Then Rav Shach tells him, lock the safe, and he locks it. As soon as he locks the safe, he says, Nu Rebbe, can we pray Shacharit now? He says, one more favor. And he says, what's that favor? He says, can you check just one more time to make sure the safe is locked? And he checks. He says, yes. He says, now we can pray. And they begin praying Shacharit. After Shacharit, he turns to Rosh Shiva and he says, Rabbeinu Yilamdeinu, teach us what was so important about this whole escapade before Shacharit. And he tells him, 2 days ago I had a question on the Mishnah in Masechet Pe'ah. And I remember from my young years that there's a Sefer that asks this question and has an answer. But I only remembered the name of the Sefer and the question. I did not remember the answer. I wasn't worried because I knew I had the Sefer at home. But when I came home 2 nights ago, I did not find the book. And when I didn't find the book, it's been 2 nights that I didn't sleep. Probably one of the 8 o'clock, the grandchildren took it. He said, this morning that you found it, now I can get my Yeshuva Dad back. Now I can get my settled mind back, and I'd be able to pray Shacharit better. And I wanted to make sure that while we're praying, nobody else borrows the book. That's why I insisted in you sticking the book into the safe. I heard Rabbi Meirov say before that the staff of the yeshiva today are those who learned there years ago. Guys, let's put this in perspective. These are walk-in Sifrei Torah that grew up, that otherwise the alternative was very, very different. At the cost of our safe. Tonight our challenge is, how much are you willing to open your heart and open your safe to protect the next Sefer Torah that can come out of the Achai? That's your challenge. And God and Mordechai and Esther and everybody else is looking right before Purim to see where you stand in that test. Are you going to pass? Or are you going to fail? I don't care if you paid at the entrance. I don't care if you pledged. I don't care if you donated. All of that's beautiful. Chazak Baruch, we love you. Now double it. Let's go double down, guys. We can't have a thought crossing our mind for even 1 second that yeshiva is at risk of closing, especially the most important yeshiva in our town. The most important yeshiva in our town. I just end off with a thought. We're Sephardic Jews. We like superstitions, we like mystics, and we like gematriot. We like different things like that, right? We like skulot. People move into a new house, it almost looks like a slaughterhouse when they move in. Chickens, eggs, everything's flying, everything, fish eye, this, that, whatnot. We're into that, right? We're Bukharians in the Bukhari community, multiply that like 800-fold. So let me give it to you. Let me tell you what came to my mind as I shook Rabbi Kleinman's hand when I was walking up to this stage. A gift from God that I'm going to give you. I saw on that screen that this yeshiva is called Midrash Leman Achai. And the truth is, it was weird to me. Why isn't it called Yeshivat Leman Achai? And nothing's a coincidence in this world, right? So if God put it into whoever's head to call it Midrash and to put that on that screen and that should stand out, there must have been a reason. My dearest friends, with this message, I lay my heart out to you. When we give charity, we give it because God told us to do so. But we also give it under the disguise of something called ma'aser. And when we give ma'aser, ask any child that grew up in a Jewish education, we get blessed. The only blessing that God says, B'hanuni na bazot, challenge me with this thing. And what's that blessing? Aser te'aser. The rabbis learn out from that. Aser kidei shetit-asher. Give ma'aser in order for your wealth to sustain itself or for you to grow in wealth. And now listen to this. Am Yisrael has 12 tribes. There's one word in the pasuk that discusses making a sacrifice when something's hard from you. One of the hardest things to do is to part from your money. That word, in its actual spelling of the way I'm going to spell it out to you, says 12 times exactly in the Chamisha Chumshei Torah, keneged the 12 shiftei ka. That word is vehikravtem, spelled vav hei kuf reish bet taf mem. The word vehikravtem is the exact numeric value of Midrash Leman Achai. The Midrash Leman Achai represents all 12 Shvatim in Am Yisrael. It accepts everybody without discriminating. It takes every student in with open arms. It gives every student love. And exactly the word that says 12 times in the Chamisha Chumshei Torah that says, go sacrifice, is this holy Midrash that was built on sweat, blood, and tears of sacrifice. But we're not done. And here's your gift to go. And this is what Rabbi Kleinman's handshake gave me. What's the date tonight, the Hebrew date? I think everybody knows, right? Yud Daled Adar is tomorrow night, so Yud Gimel Adar got to be tonight, right? So Yud Gimel Adar, we're sitting together for the purpose of Midrash Leman Achai. Yud Gimel Adar Midrash Leman Achai is the exact numerical value of Te'aser. You want to become rich? This is your chance. You want an insurance policy to protect your assets? This is your chance. You want to have a blessed year? This is your chance. Everybody's walking around saying the jewelry industry became a cemetery. Guess what? The Hasidic books say on Purim, even a pashut sheba'am kedu tchiyat ha'metim. You want to bring jewelry back to life? This is your chance. You want 580 to get some breath again? This is your chance. Te'aser, Midrash Leman Achai. Have a wonderful night. I love you all. Chag Purim Sameach.
Can we get the lights? Can we get the lights over there? Please watch the screen for the video presentation.